Hello everyone, welcome back to my Let's Play. Last we saw we were about to go into this area here beneath the dock. I'm going to try to make sure the sound's okay. I'm going to turn it up whenever there's anything important for you guys to hear, but I definitely don't want it to drown me out. But there is a little bit of music and you can sort of look around. You can't look up or anything. Can't go behind. Oh, you can look into this cauldron here and see we have this sort of water effect. You can hit this button, and then it does that. And we can look around. That's where we came from. To our left here, we have what looks like a page. It says Setting Dimensional Imager. Topographical Excursion Test, 40. Water Turbulent Pool, 67. Marker Switch Diagram, 47. Now I'm really interested in the marker switch diagram because if you remember that note we read up on the island said that we needed to count the marker switches and put it into the, I can't remember what it was, the imager, I think the term was. It says 67 right now. As you see, that's the hiccuping I was talking about earlier. That's the it's currently set at the water turbulent pool. We wanted to set it to the marker switch diagram, which is 47. So let's do that. Now, it looks like, can we actually move this? I don't think we can. It looks like we can kind of. But if you couldn't tell from the image, those were the podiums we've been flipping switches on. And so therefore, those are fairly important. And the note asked us to count the amount, or to put in the amount on the island. So we will be doing that. And I should really read. Topographical Excursion Test is the other one, number 40. So let's set this to 40, see what that does. Now, to this day, I have no idea what this is, the purpose of this is. It looks like some sort of wintry mountain range, maybe to show off the neat effects that it can do. We'll turn that off. Interestingly enough, there was a 3D version of this game, like a real-time 3D remake of this game called Real Myst, and they actually made another place that resembles that topographical excursion test, which makes it, make more sense. But in the context of what we're doing, that actually doesn't mean anything. But it said in the note to count the marker switches, so let's do that currently. So this is the one we came across when we came to the island here. So 1, we went up to the cogs. That's 2. We saw this note, which, to the imager, that's what that thing's called. The cauldron is called the imager. Here we have the marker switch by the conservatory here. That's number 3. Nope. Is there one? Nope, there's not one in the library. But we did go in there. There's also one by the ship. That's 4. There's one by this toy ship here, which is 5. There's one by this generator here, generator room, which is 6. There's one out this clock tower we can't get to, which is 7. There's one here in this cabin, which is 8. And I think that's all of them. 1. I feel like I've missed one, though, for some reason. 2. I have a vague feeling that I've missed one. 3, 4, 5 by the ship, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I think that's the number we're looking for. Let's put it into the imager here. And the nice thing about this puzzle is it's pretty simple, And even if you miss one or two, I mean, you know that there's not going to be 100 switches. So let's put in 8, and if we're wrong, for some reason I did miss one, we can change it to 9 or 7, or we know it's not 7, we saw 8, maybe there's one we missed, but we can change it if need be.
Catherine, my love, I have to leave quickly. Something terrible has happened. It's hard for me to believe. Most of my books have been destroyed. Catherine, it's one of our sons. I suspect Achenar, but I shouldn't leap to conclusions. I'll find him and Cirrus as well. I should have known better than to have left my library unchecked for so long. Well, I've removed the remaining undamaged books from the library and placed them in their places of protection. You shouldn't have to use the books until I return. But if you've forgotten the access keys, remember the tower rotation. Oh, and don't worry, Catherine. Everything will be fine. I'll see you shortly. Oh, and erase this message after you viewed it, just to be safe.
Well, clearly she did not erase the message, so it's a good thing, because, you know, that gave us some hints. No static, and actually, I don't know if you could tell, but this guy who's playing this character here is also one of the creators. I told you there were 2 creators, brothers. There are 2 people acting in this, you know, the 2 creators are acting in this, and they're playing 3 different characters. So this character is this actor, I should say. I believe it's Robin Miller, but I could be wrong. I always get the brothers mixed up, I'm afraid, because they're brothers who made this game. The same actor also does the acting part for the guy in the blue book that we saw a little while ago. And actually, I always have a hard time being able to tell that. But what we basically went over is somebody destroyed his library. He suspects one of his sons, which we heard earlier, the guys in the books were named Cirrus and Achenar, or at least the images we saw in the books. They claimed to be Cirrus and Achenar. And they said that the books were destroyed and he was going to investigate. He was also talking to someone named Catherine, which is the case in the note we saw, which stands to reason that the person in the imager is Atus, since this note right here is signed Atus, and he was talking to Catherine. He said, you know, to get somewhere safe, and he discussed going to the library and using the tower rotation if we forget the codes to things. So that gives us a hint, but this gives us a little bit of context of what happened, and clearly she's quite forgetful and forgets to delete things. Whoops. Good job. So, here we are back at the library, and he talks about the tower rotation, which, when we saw this map earlier, you notice when we clicked this, tower rotation is what it says down there. Now, as you can see, look, see how the lines sometimes turn red? That seems awfully suspicious. See, and it'll actually kind of stop, but you can't really see it in a Let's Play, but you can feel it. It kind of hesitates when it turns red. There are actually 4 locations that turn red. There's this, and as you can see, there are more things lit up. The reason why there are more things lit up than last time I was here is because we've been flipping those switches, and that's what it turns out those switches do. Switches make it possible for us to target those places with the tower rotation. And this thing right here is actually where the tree, this is the cabin we were in, this is the tree place. This over here is the generator we were at. This is where the toy boat was, followed by all the symbols. And this is the rocket ship. We pointed out all the other places. So this stops at the tree. This stops, let's see if we can get it, at the rocket. This stops at the gears. And this also stops at the, what looks like the mast rising up by the docks there. So what we're going to do is we are going to have this stop at the gears to start. Let's give it a second to do what we want it to do. Alright, It's back up there. Now, we don't know what that did, certainly. We know something about a tower rotation, but remember these pictures to either side of the books? I would like to look at the books, so can't look at the books. Oh, there we go. That's the picture I wanted here. You can see that there are two pictures here. There's one that looks awfully familiar. See? See that entranceway? That is what this picture is of. And if you click it, it gives you a sound of, I don't think so. And I don't think so sound, if you will. If you look at the one on the left, we don't really recognize this picture, but you can click on it. And look. Now that picture looks familiar. As you can see, it is the bookcase changed to a staircase to a secret passage. I just found it interesting that that was such an easy thing to open. I guess they do look like pictures. You might not think to touch the pictures. Bit of a security measure. But we can see where we came from. You can't click behind or anything like that. But you can click on this door. And we want to hit the button. Ooh, I'm a little... As you can see, there's a QuickTime movie going on in the middle of this screen right now. Notice how it's in a small window. You notice all the videos, the ones of the people we saw in the books, small windows, because that is really what the capabilities of QuickTime videos were at the time. Now, we were in some kind of circular room. We just went in a circle. This is a symbol with a book, and if we go up the ladder here, we can see the gears, which makes sense because that is what we just turned the painting to. If you haven't figured out already, that mountain we saw earlier behind the library, this is how you get to it. And there's a room that could turn up there. And right now we are turned toward the gears, since that's what we did on the map. There's also a key thing here. So if we go up these stairs, it says 240 221. Don't know what that means, but 240 could be a ratio, could be a time. 221 is just 3 random numbers. But maybe something to do with the conservatory. We don't know currently. But these are clearly clues that have to do with the gears. So we were in the tower. Now we're going to go down. Still drinking the red wine from before. I'm doing a few of these videos at once, so this is actually my second glass. Will probably be my final glass for tonight. The only thing I don't like about drinking wine is you open an entire bottle. I'm never gonna drink this. I mean, my husband will drink some, but we went to some wineries. My husband and I, with my parents, we went to some wineries, and we picked up quite a few bottles of wine doing that. And I wanted to try one. I actually tried one of the cheaper bottles, so I don't feel bad if we waste some of it. But it's very good. I enjoy it. I like a good red wine. Alright, so, as you can see, we can't get out. We're trapped. No! But there is a solution. Notice there's a picture of the open door we saw before, which closes the secret passage and opens it. I assume this is some kind of security measure so somebody can't come in and see the open passageway. Now, I told you before that we are going to read some of these books. Now, I told you I turned the tower rotation toward the gears. One of these books has something to do with turning it that particular way. But I don't remember which book it is. Yes, the one with the gears on it. Doesn't that make sense? So right now I'm going to read the book to you. I'm going to put an annotation if the background doesn't interest you. But I think that the places we go are more interesting if you hear backstories. So let's read this. Hopefully I won't make too many mistakes as I read. I will try to be as on top of it as I can be. Before arriving in the Sage, I was determined that it would be a journey to a world very different from my previous adventures, and it was. The sky here is dark and gray, and incessantly displays flashes of lightning in the distance. I met a very old man with a long beard and hair that hangs to his waist. He is very feeble and has trouble even moving. This man has obviously been through very many things in this strange world, and I have learned many things from him. He has told me an interesting story of this world's history. Years ago, he told me, there was a beautiful city that rose up out of the water. It housed many people inside its walls, and the people had everything they wished for. The city was surrounded by 3 high hills, which rose higher than the city. On the east hill of the city rested a large lookout post. The people of the city had constructed the post expecting visitors to arrive from the east. The people had no means of traveling on the water, which forced them to merely wait for friend or foe. As time passed, friendly visitors brought rumors of an enemy that existed beyond the horizon. The people grew fearful, yet nothing happened. One day, the usually sunny day became dark as night, and black ships appeared on the horizon. The lookout post's attempts at peace were turned away, and the sentries were easily overwhelmed. The ships continued to wreak havoc on the city, and apparently destroying everyone and everything. After the foundations of the city were destroyed, the city sunk deep into the ocean, and only the lookout post remained. The black ships sailed away. The man continued to say that 8 people had hidden and managed to survive through the attack. In the 9 years since the attack, 2 of the survivors had died. He also said that it had been rumored that 10 years from the attack, the enemy would return to finish the destruction they had started so long ago. I have decided, since hearing the man's story, it would be admirable to save this civilization and stop this enemy's plan of destruction. I am excited about the adventure that awaits me, and an idea has sparked in my mind to provide the needed defense for these people. I met the remaining survivors today, and I have begun work on a plan for protection. After a short distance, I have returned to this age with my 2 sons. They have, as of yet, traveled rarely with me, and they are understandably excited to be here. They have grown considerably since Everdunes, and it is already obvious to me that they will be a great help this time, instead of the nuisance they've been in the past. All 3 of us, along with 4 of the healthier survivors, began construction today. We are building upon the old city's ruins, which will provide a perfect foundation for a fortress. My sons have been spending much of their spare time on the South Island, where most of my materials are stored. I am very pleased with their intelligence, and their creativity is refreshing to see as they work on some small projects of their own. It has been over 4 months now, and construction is going well. My sons love the world except for its gray sky. They detest the gray sky and tell me many times they wish the sky here were like the blue sky in Myst. The old man I first talked to tells me that the enemy is due in 4 months. I feel we will be ready when the time comes. The man reminds me of Emmett in many ways, and I often wonder how Emmett and his people are doing. It has been 6 months of work, and we have finally finished the fortress. It rests between the 3 hills, which are now only islands due to a rising water level that the people experienced after the attack. Inside the fortress, I've designed a most intriguing device. It makes use of a technology called holography. I began experimenting with... I will start that one over. Inside the fortress, I've designed a most intriguing device. It makes use of a technology called holography I began experimenting with on my visit to Aspermire. It will be working in a couple of days after I compensate for some small miscalculations. This holographic device will enable the survivors to learn to use the fortress. My apologies. After reading this for a while, I guess my eyes are getting a little tired from the handwriting, but I will continue. It's almost done. The enemy is due to come soon, and I trust the fortress will provide sufficient protection for all of us. And I skipped past the picture here. Here we have a picture of what appears to be some kind of island. You see a gear there. There's something about a track, and some little things on the side there. The black ships have come. Their attack was substantial. Their weapons have been stopped, and it appears they have turned away in defeat. I could not help but smile as I watched the boats leave. Last night we had a small celebration, and the old survivors danced their dances of old. My sons did not understand why the sky had not turned back to its original blue. The old man told them that the storms would never end until the enemy was destroyed. I assured my sons that a blue sky was not worth the risk of death, and they seemed to hear me. I have had a healthy adventure and have begun work on a new book. Once again, I must leave a familiar age in search of a new universe. I have begun. But first, I will have an extended time with Catherine, whom I miss very much. I must also return to the people of the tide. I believe in my travels I have found a substance that will ease the pain of their bone ailments they have long endured. I hope to return to the mechanical age one day and find the population growing and my fortress still strong. Though the sky may always be black, I am confident the people here feel a heavier darkness has been lifted from their shoulders. And that is some writings about something called the mechanical age, which makes a lot of sense since we've been doing something related to gears. Makes sense that we would be heading to a place that has to do with mechanics. Now, the places we go in this place, besides Myst specifically, are called ages. I've been calling them places until now, but we've heard the word age, so I will start calling them ages. Now, we turned the tower rotation, which, let's see if you can see the tower rotation better from here. Can't really, It's one bad thing about the pre-rendered, it's really hard to get good views of things you'd like to see sometimes. But you can't really see the tower rotation from here. I showed you a vantage point earlier that you could see it. Yep, you can see a little bit here. See this mountain back here? That's the secret passage from the library here. And actually, if you look at it, it doesn't look terribly obvious. But it goes through there, and then up there is where, yep, and that's where the tower rotation was. That's now facing toward these gears here. Now, as you see, I click on these and they don't do anything. So, we don't know what to do with those right now. So, we're going to have to go to other places to try to figure out. Now, we saw the ratio or time, and we saw a number code. Now, the only two places that seem logical that has to do with those that we saw were the conservatory, which had some kind of dates and times, but not you need dates and times for the conservatory. We only get a time, so that doesn't help us any. But ratios, well, I haven't really seen anything useful for that. But there is a clock back here. Alright. Now, we realized earlier that we can change the time of this clock. And we can try putting it to 2:40, like the tower rotation told us. So let's do that now. Right now we're at 4:35 here. So let's do the small one first. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Yep, we're at 12 now. 1, 2. There we go, 2. And we're almost at 40. We only need to turn this once, so that was fortunate. And let's try the red button. Look at that! Ta-da! And there are the gears. I personally think that this is one of the easier of the ages to find, because I feel like once you see 240, there aren't anything that really has to do with ratios, and I think it's fairly obvious that it has to do with some kind of time. AM and PM wouldn't matter because on a clock it doesn't matter. And this clock tower, if you look around the island at all, I feel like it's a very prominent thing. And now that we're here, we can flip up the marker switch just for completeness. Now, let's see what's in here. Here we go. Took a second there. Here we have some numbers, which makes a lot of sense because the second clue we got was 221. Right now, it says 333. So, if we turn that, it moves the bottom two. And if we turn the top one, it moves the top two. As you can see, as we move them, this chain at the left moves downwards. So let's try, we're almost to 221. We've got 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. But as you can see, no 2, 2, 1. And then once it gets to the bottom, Now, I've calculated this. It is actually impossible to get 221 if you do it the traditional, just doing this. It's absolutely impossible. You can't do it at the starting point. But there is a trick to this. if you hold down this, look at that. See, the middle one rotates. So that was a little tricky the first time I did it, because I actually spent a lot of time trying to map out the specific amount of turns we needed to get it to be exactly 221, and before I realized with my mapping out that is actually impossible to do. You need to know that trick to hold it down to get just the middle one to rotate in order to be able to do this. As you can see, we actually can't click on this, but this gear thing turned and we have music. Now, I don't know if you can tell, it's a little quiet right now. There's the music. We've heard this music before. We heard it at the gears, and actually this gear looks a lot like the gears we were at before. So let's go and see if this changed anything. Now as we're walking there, and I apologize, there's a little bit of lag here. Here we go. As we're walking there, I'm going to talk about a little bit of the history I have with this game here. I'm currently 27 years old. I played this game for the first time when I was, I believe, 8 or 9. I played it with my family, my dad, my mom, and actually my aunt, who was living with us at the time. My dad was the one who set out our computer, and, oh look, this is open now. He sat at our computer, and he was the one who always did the clicking, always did the, main parts of the game. And we had a, smaller monitor back then. You had the ones with the big backs, not the flat screen monitors, the white colored computers, and we had a couch in our den area, and we would sit and watch my dad play and come up with our own suggestions and try to solve as a family. Now, what happened usually was my dad would usually solve it, because he's actually a very smart man. I was young, so I tried to contribute, but usually my contributions were woefully wrong. And my mother occasionally would solve something. But that was my first experience, and we did beat the game together, although I'm sure I realized as an adult I wouldn't remember everything. We're going to click on this book here and watch this fly by as I finish what I'm saying here. So that was my first experience with this game, playing that, and it really excited my memory, or excited my imagination, not my memory. As a kid, I used to have dreams about this game. I mean, I just loved it, and the sound effects, many of the sound effects really creeped me out, and I was always afraid that someone was going to pop out of somewhere in this game, because it was so lonely, and it really freaked me out. As an adult, I actually decided to play this game about 6 months ago. I found it on Steam and got very, very excited. Wanted to play through it again, and actually got to, and really enjoyed myself. I was surprised I remembered some of the puzzles, but some of them I forgot and I had to figure out again. And then I went through and played the sequel, which I had less experience with as a kid, which that ended up being an even truer test of my intellect and my puzzle-solving abilities. And maybe once this Let's Play's over, if that one, we'll move on to Riven, because as an adult, I appreciate Riven far more as when I tried to attempt it as a kid. So anyway, if you click on that image, you get this really beautiful flyby. I think this is really impressive for its time, even though these are rendered 3D graphics, pre-rendered. It's really cool that you get these QuickTime videos of these beautiful ages that the Miller brothers have created here. And like getting the Myst, we have to click on that. That sound effect creeped me out so much as a kid. I really love it. And the sound quality is not perfect in this game because it's an older game, but I think it's a neat effect. Alright, so here we are. This is the mechanical age that we just read about a little bit ago, and we have lots of gears. Very much a theme. As you can see, oops, it's actually not what I needed to click on right then. Where we came from, there is no book going back, so we are currently trapped here, which is unfortunate. But we have something here. Symbols. And we don't know what these symbols do, but they clearly do something. There's what looks to be like a staircase of some kind, but we can't open it, and it stands to reason that this might control that thing, but we don't know how to open that currently. And here we are at this fortress. Now this was the fortress described in the book we just read, and actually that image that I showed you is actually a top-down image of this. The top of this fortress rotated, and there's a track around it. And there's little tiny islands that you can sort of see. Let's see if we can get a better vantage point. There's not really a great vantage point for the island on the left, but you can see the one on the right pretty nicely here. Alright, that seems like a good point to break it up, and we will continue our trip through the mechanical age later.